Problems. Do you have a problem or many problems in your life? Well, if you're alive and watching this, then if you didn't answer yes, you're probably lying. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I mean and really an approach to problems that has really helped me mentally and emotionally. Welcome back to the Men's Mental Health and Growth Podcast. So I want to make this today because I recently started a new sales role, which I absolutely really love already. And it's really cool to speak to people. And sales is something you definitely have to emotionally be on top of yourself. It is not for the lighthearted. It is not something that you think you're going to get a quick win. You know, you speak to a lot of people, you get ignored. Some people might get a bit defensive because you ask some tricky questions. And then other days, it's great to serve people and help them understand where they need to go, not forcing them, but getting them to the root of what's the best decision for them, not getting them to make a decision out of fear, but out of love for themselves. And what I wanted to share is from that people that I always talk to on the phone or in a message or on Zoom in sales, every single one of them is there because they got a problem, even if they don't admit it. Like everyone has a problem there. And do you know what? Every human being, I believe, has a problem. Now, what I've learned from dealing with my own problems is that you could call it challenge as well if you want a more empowering word, but today we're going to call it problems. But I've learned the approach to dealing with my problems has really, really helped me. Now, of course, what I mean by problems is, you know, you might have a problem that's like, how do I pay my bills? Quite a tricky one. Someone's left you in a relationship. It could be someone said something harsh, work's really tricky. There's something with a project that's not going to plan. And I've got a project management background, and believe me, there's always going to be problems in that as well. Now, obviously, you can forecast, plan to the best of your ability, but something will always come up because life happens, you know. And I used to be in a place where a problem would mean it was the end of the world. Like life is going to be like always throwing that at me. And I was like, I'll get to a place where I've got no problems. Well, if I get to a place where I've got no problems, I'd be dead because any alive person has some kind of problem, right? And our problems can vary, right? But it's part of life, right? Now, for me, one thing that's really, really helped is questions. The first thing, before I go on to that, the first thing I'm obviously stating is don't have the expectation that you're not going to have problems because you're always going to have problems because that's part of life. So accepting the fact you're always going to have problems, you know, not going out and consciously making more problems for you and not dwelling in it, but being accepting to the fact you're always going to have problems is really a release for me, like emotionally. It doesn't create stress because I shouldn't have a problem because, you know, I'm growing and I'm going through life. And the more you grow, the more you come out of your comfort zone, the more you're going to get, right? And it's going to be a sign to allow you to grow. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is the questions. Like the questions I've talked about in previous mental health podcasts, but like questions really determine what you do and how you feel. Mainly you'll feel a certain way and then you'll act. So in that order, actually. But if you're asking yourself, why has this happened to me? Oh, why is the world so tough? Why are people always like, you're only going to get crap answers and make yourself feel absolute crap, right? But if you're asking yourself, oh, how can we use this to grow the business? How can I use this to advance my career? How can I use this as an opportunity to really shine? How can I use this to grow into the man to therefore attract a higher, more conscious woman in line with me? What can I do? These are quality questions. Or what did I do that was awesome in handling this? Or how did I overcome this kind of challenge before? That's going to make you have a lot better perspective on problems that come your way. And then number 3, getting them down on paper, because often when I find I get something written down, it like looks a lot different than it does in my head. And what I like to do is write down beliefs and things that really bombard me with positivity, and that really creates a new relationship for me with myself, because I'm like, I feel good. But then when I get things that are challenging in my mind down on paper, it helps me to work through it a lot, like those kind of problems. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about problems, and really as well, another point I'll say that if you're if you're someone you feel like you're not making enough money, and this may get to some people, and I can tell you this from not being a multi-millionaire, because I'm not being a billionaire, because obviously if I'm not a multi-millionaire, I'm not a billionaire, but like someone who's grown his value and the amount of money he's made over the years, like just from my experience, you're not solving a big enough problem if you're not making enough money, right? Like some people won't like to hear that. And working hard is not the same as adding value. And adding value is solving problems, right? So you're doing a load of, and I used to do a load of administrative work, like photocopying, all these kind of things, sending out emails. But in reality, like especially today, I'm going to impact some people. And I'm not saying you're not a valuable human being, because I believe every single human being is valuable. But that kind of work is really not problem solving. That is not really a massive problem solving. That's not a massive amount of value. Machines can do that now. But if you like go into a business, you're a consultant, and then you go in and you give them an idea and a strategy that saves them $500,000 a year, how big a problem have you just solved? How much value have you given? Or millions, right? That is why people who make a lot more money, I've realized, solve bigger problems and give a lot more value. So start thinking about not only about how your attitude to your own problems, but how can you go out and help other people's problems as well. So that can really, really be a big perspective shift for me as well. I've been in sales, and the problem I'm solving is helping people work through their blocks, but I'm also helping the business owner increase their business. So that's a big problem to help as well. And that's why you can earn quite a lot in sales, right? You're helping them earn more. So therefore that's a big problem, right? So that's kind of a side note on my attitude to problems. So really look at it and looking at the questions you're asking, not expecting to never have problems, because you're always going to while you're alive, and then getting it down on paper as well. And then the final point I obviously shared was the bonus point is, if you want to really increase your worth and your value, and by the way, you've got unlimited worth. You're a human being. You're here for a reason. But sometimes we just need to ask different questions to what we could really do to showcase our value even more. So that's what I'll leave you with today. So thank you for listening, and I'll speak to you on the next episode.